Hey, True Believers. Chris Mack coming at you with Batman number 100. I know I'm behind, but you got to excuse the move. Slowly getting everything together, and I just thought I'd take a break and finally sit down and read this because I look at the unpacking and I'm like, it can wait. Batman, not so much. I like this cover. I think this is the A cover, but I like that you kind of see the family in the background. You see Batman here, and you turn it around, and you see the Rogues Gallery with Joker as the other side of the, the symbolic coin. Now, one thing about this book and the Joker War in general, because this is the final book, that's why this one's just about the size of a tiny trade paperback, is everything comes to a head. And overall, this was an excellent read. Now, for the Joker himself, I feel like, the Joker, the Batman Who Laughs, were characters that were grossly overused the last few years. And I think that has a lot to do with, I think it was DC was bought by AT&T and Time Warner or something like that. Let me know down in the comments. So, things creatively that you want to do, I'm pretty sure Tennion and other creatives have been told no, which can be really frustrating. So you have to kind of dance around it. So at the end of this book, it's kind of obvious what's going to happen, but what leads up to it is interesting. And that's why I don't see the Joker, even though this is called the Joker War, the Joker in and of himself is not the interesting part. We open up with Oracle. And what I like here is that she's standing in the clock tower. You see her remove her Batgirl mask, and she's talking to the computer. You see her sit down, don the glasses, and she says, okay, it's time to let everyone know that Oracle is back online. Now, for a lot of you new readers that are coming in now from Rebirth or even the New 52, back in the day, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of people talk about it, Alan Moore's The Killing Joke was a pivotal book because what happened is the Joker paralyzes Barbara, shoots her in the spine. So obviously she cannot be Batgirl anymore because she's paralyzed from the waist down. So through that era, Barbara was recreated as this character called Oracle, and she was like the all-seeing eyes of Gotham. And her run that was initially, I think it was Chuck Dixon that did Birds of Prey, that was an excellent read. And just seeing her like that, yes, it sucked that she was paralyzed, that was heartbreaking, but just seeing how her character developed out of that tragedy is what made Barbara that much more interesting and that much more loved, because she was able to take her talents in another direction and became a very vital part of the Bat family in terms of tech and being everyone that, where they could rely on her. New 52, there's like this miracle drug that she takes, or surgery or something like that, and she's able to walk again. They made her Batgirl again. Yes, it was nice to see Babs back on the street. It was nice to see her standing, but it killed everything that happened pre-Flashpoint where the spoiler, Stephanie Brown was Batgirl, and then they brought in Cassandra Cain, I think is her name. She became Batgirl, and very well loved, character who was the daughter of Shiva, who wanted a different path for her life, and that's why she joined the Bat family. Now with Barbara back in the picture, Stephanie is once again the spoiler, which I'm okay with. I think the spoiler is a great character, but then they changed Cassandra to this character called Orphan. So even though she's the same, her costume looks relatively the same, I just kind of felt like she got pushed to the side in that sense. So again, corporate decisions, but after years and years and seeing Babs back like this really was excellent. Also considering the fact that Tennion took the time, because I believe her first appearance as Oracle, it was in Suicide Squad from the 80s. And I think this little logo was what she used initially, I believe. If I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments. But I like that he really made it a point to go back and really pull some old lore. This comic book, kind of looking at the whole over art, now kind of getting off Barbara, is a lot of damage done through the Tom King years, etc., so forth. I feel like Tynion is taking and kind of resetting some things that need to be reset, but also creating something different where it enhances a character, because characters, just like people, always need to grow and evolve. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about who made the book. This is the finale of the Joker War. This is James Tynion, the fourth writer. Jorge Jimenez, the artist. Jorge Jimenez and Tomo Morai doing the cover. Francesco Mattina did the variant. There's the associate editor and the editor. And then over here in this pushed little corner that's hard to pull back because, but it's Tomu Morai colors and Clayton Cowles doing the lettering. And of course, Batman was created by Bill Finger with Bob Kane. Let's just set the record straight now. Another thing that Tynion has done that has not been done in Batman in a long time is he's taking chances and introducing new characters. We got Punchline. Punchline shouldn't have worked, but she's kind of becoming a fan favorite. He's brought Harley back to form when he writes her. We got this character named Clown Hunter, and we got someone new at the end, which I'll show a quick, brief explanation of. But anyway, this this opening speech that Barbara gives to the whole city is wonderful. Now, the one thing maybe you guys can kind of help me with is after the Batman Who Laughs, so again, like I said, overused, when he did the Secret Six, Gordon was one of them. I didn't read it. I was fed up. What happened to Jim? Did he die? Is he recouping somewhere? Because in the page of Batman, it was never explained. So I feel like I'm missing something. Let me know. But at this point, Harvey Bullock is the acting commissioner, which makes sense because those two worked side by side. And Barbara takes over the emergency broadcasting system, redirecting cops. Basically, she's become the all-seeing eye of Gotham. And one of the blues on the street is telling Bullock how the mayor's saying, you need to stand down from this. You need to cut out Oracle, and you need to stand down. And Harvey's thinking. The city is an anarchy. Everything is on fire. People are dying. The Joker is basically ruling the city right now. And he goes, all this time we thought we could make it better from the inside, eh, Jim? What would you do right now if you were in my place? He goes, like I even have to ask. And he throws his badge down. That's what I like about Harvey Bullock is, yes, he can be a scumbag sometimes. But deep down, he's a good cop. And that's what I've always liked about him. And he says, a lot of you cops are going to have to decide, are you going to do the right thing? Do you want to be a cop in this crooked city, or do you want to do what is right? And that's just excellent. And again, what I mean by Tynion setting some things right is it's awesome to see Dick Grayson back in form. And Barbara even says it's good to see you back in blue. And just the playful relationship that they've always had because they were a couple. I don't think they are anymore. But nonetheless, they grew up together. So even without the relationship part of them loving each other, they're family nonetheless. So it's like reading something from the old days. I know that makes me sound old and dated. But a lot of comics just don't do it anymore. They don't understand character development, or even with character deconstruction like Watchmen, and how to rebuild a character like The Dark Knight during Frank Miller, where he kind of broke Batman down but was able to reconstruct him at the end and start to take on Carrie Kelly and all of the mutants that became the son of Batman. Now, what I was saying earlier about the Joker not being that interesting is in and of himself, I was looking at some comments on a video that was reviewed about this book, and people were saying, a lot of people didn't read comics as long as I have. A lot of them started on the animated series, which is excellent and a great rendition because Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, what was the other guy's name? Alan. I could see it on the credit line, but I can't remember. But y'all know who I'm talking about. They loved the source material. And the Joker kind of having that clownish personality is what makes him who he is. And I agreed with the comment where it says it feels like over the last few years the Joker's clown part has been stripped from him and he's just more of a hardcore serial killer. Now with that said, what makes him making other characters interesting is he's able to push. And he really pushes Bruce through the ringer here. Last issue, the one thing I didn't want to spoil is he digs up Alfred's corpse because he knows who Batman is. And he makes him a reanimated corpse from the formula from the designer. And Batman, nonetheless, perseveres. And one thing I do want to point out here is the psychoticness rage of Punchline, because this is important for later, especially when we get into her one shot, which I'm still on the fence about going over because what happens in here is interesting, but the book itself is it's long-winded, just for lack of a better word. But you get a moment with the Bat family. It's great to see them all working together. One thing that I'm glad that Tynion's keeping intact is the marriage of Selina Kyle and Batman. I was really afraid that they were going to tear that apart, even though Tom King kind of did that to himself. But I'm glad that they're together. That's, again, character development. This is something that's been needing to happen for a long time. And I'm glad that it did because it changes the dynamics of Bruce and his thoughts with Batman. Now, the Joker's thinking, you've already won, but you haven't. This is the aftermath. And this is what I mean, is how he's able to push Bruce, because Bruce is thinking he's winning, but the Joker's like, you haven't. I have. You're just mopping up after me. I've broken the city to what I want. He says, the suit you get to wear when you finally save Gotham City once and for all. He corrupts that silver suit that Tynion was teasing there for a while. He goes, you tried to pretend that Gotham was a nice place, but it isn't. It's an angry city, a hungry city, a dangerous city. But before any more of that can happen, we get Harley, as I said, back to form. Now, one thing that Tynion is able to do, because, again, going back to what I was talking about with corporations, you can't kill the Joker. He's too popular. He's a very beloved, I guess you could say, villain. You know, the movie with Joaquin Phoenix? No, maybe. I forget the guy's name. But anyway, that was a hit. We're probably going to see more of it. So you can't kill the Joker. But what I'm hoping that Tynion does here sticks. Just how, like, when Punchline slit Harley's throat. Even though everything feels like there's parts of the Batman mythos that needs to be put back in place, you see the scars of what it took, and I'm hoping that stays, that, you know, Harley is back to form here, but it took her butt initially getting kicked by Punchline to kind of get her back where she's supposed to belong. Same thing with Batman. Harley gives this ultimatum, and you kind of get this, the dual look. And when you think you know what's going to happen there, it doesn't. I don't want to give any more of the main story away. What I did tease about here is Tynion again introduces this character called the Ghost Maker, which I'm interested in. Just how, like, with Peter J. Tomasi in the pages of Detective Comics created the Arkham Knight, which, if you guys haven't read that arc, I highly recommend it. The Arkham Knight, interesting character. They used him in Dark Detective, which would have been interesting, but it got wordy, so it kind of bogged it down. So anyway, we get this page, and this kind of reminds me of like a Claremont-esque moment, because we start getting this in the aftermath. It's like in another place, or while this is happening in this little area. So we see this ghost hunter. We get the backstory, finally, of Clown Killer and his beef with Batman. And then there's again, like I said, you can't kill the Joker, so there's a kind of a catch-up story with that. Sorry, guys, I'm having to fight this big book to keep the pages down. It's not wanting to play with me. Anyway, Punchline. As you saw a moment ago, I said, look at the violent, just very sociopathic tendencies that she can have. She goes online. And even though she's able to, like, she tells everyone what she's doing, that she's manipulating everyone feels for her. And it makes you want to know more about her. Because at this point, I don't think anyone, like, because I know we're on Batman issue 100 and whatever. So I'm catching up, I'm enjoying it. But this is where you kind of get to see her out of the clown makeup and look like a normal human being. So it humanizes her instead of just seeing her as a serial killer. So I don't want to give that away. I want you guys to read this. It's really, really worth it. So like I said, sadly, like I feel like if Time Warner and DC had the goal to kill Alfred, which I think really jerked the gherk of a good majority of us, I feel like after how many years now of the Joker, 70 plus, because they have almost 80 now at this time. You know, it would kind of suck that if the Joker died, because we all enjoy him as a villain. But if they had the audacity to kill him, finally, what kind of story would that be? I thought at the end of the video game, Arkham City, when the Joker dies. Now, they jumped into the Arkham Knight, which had some good ideas, but if you guys go back and read a book in between, that's called Batman Arkham Knight, The Riddler's Gambit. I'm reading it right now, and it talks about this power vacuum that happened in Gotham with the death of the Joker, and how everyone's fighting for control. That's interesting, because that changes a whole lot of dynamics. So I kind of feel like I wish that they would have given the green light. But again, you have to go back to corporate side, merchandising, etc., so forth. Just would not work. So nonetheless, how Tynion works this with the story and what he does to the Joker, I hope they keep that change and they don't retcon it, because it kind of helps. Just how like Scott Snyder had the audacity to slice his face off and made him that horrific, otherworldly monster, this is kind of the same idea. So with all that said, guys, Batman 100, a lot to take in, but worth it. I'm so glad that he's on this book. I hope he stays, because he's been doing an excellent job. So if you have enjoyed this book, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and pick up a copy. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you can possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little bat bell next to subscribe, you'll get notified. You can come to the channel, and we love talking with y'all and hearing your feedback down in the comments below, or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.